Hello, everyone's JPO, and today I'm joined with.
Jay.
And Christopher.
Yes, and we are a podcast name in brackets, back once again for our monthly edition of the Top 5. And this month we are talking about the top 5 movies of 1992. All right, Jay.
Yeah, box office context for this year, the number one film of the year was Disney's Aladdin,
Ooh,
continuing their dominance of the box office after Beauty and the Beast. Other big movies here, we have The Bodyguard, Home Alone 2, Basic Instinct, Lethal Weapon 3. I think that's 3, maybe that's 2. I don't know. I can't read it.
3.
3. Yeah. It's an interesting, I mean, there's a lot of classics here. Batman Returns, Few Good Men, Sister Act, um Bram Stoker's Dracula, Bill or Wayne's World. Yeah, that's honestly a lot of these top tens. You don't get this many classics in them, or like movies that everyone kind of knows of.
Sure, yeah.
And yeah, for Best Picture, the winner is Clint Eastwood's Unforgiven, his sort of revisionist western. The Palme d'Or. Oh, this is going to be great. Let me maximize this window a bit so I can actually read this. Oh, Um, it is an Ingmar Bergman film, Den Goda Viljan. I don't know what that is in English. And then the Razzie Worst Picture winner is Shining Through, one that I have never heard of. So yeah, interesting year. I feel like this is one of those that there are a lot of classics that people like. And then another thing that I noticed as I was going through movies this year, this is a big year for directorial debuts. Um, Obviously at the time I don't think this was noted on, but a lot of directors had their first movies this year and then would go on to bigger become household names. Tarantino, his first film Reservoir Dogs, David Fincher, Alien 3, Guillermo del Toro with Kronos, Park Chan-wook with The Moon is the Sun's Dream, much forgotten, perhaps for the better. Baz Luhrmann with Strictly Ballroom, Robert Rodriguez with El Mariachi, one of the sort of a classic of low budget cinema. M. Night Shyamalan with his own forgotten debut, Praying with Anger. Siming Liang with Rebels of the Neon God. Bill Plimpton, famous animator with The Toon. And then something for binging Barbie fans, Kenny Ortega of High School Musical fame, directed Newsies, his debut.
Nice.
But yeah, just very odd that there are this many major directors in the same. And you don't think of Tarantino and Fincher and Del Toro all being in the same class here, and Shyamalan and Park. Like, yeah, lot of big names coming out of 1992.
Well, let's get started with our number 5s.
Yes, so my number 5 is Death Becomes Her. This is, of course, directed by Robert Zemeckis, written by Martin Donovan and David Koepp. I, it's been a few years since I've seen this, so I don't, it's not as present in my mind as other films that I'm going to talk about. But this is just like this campy, fun, supernatural comedy. Follows two women who take a potion that will keep them young forever, and then the consequences of that. And yeah, the joy of this film is getting to see Meryl Streep and Goldie Hawn just going wild. They're giving these big campy performances, tons of fun. At this point, Meryl Streep wasn't really widely recognized for her comedy abilities. And this is a film that changed that very much. And yeah, it's just really, really fun, really funny. Bruce Willis is this like the schlubby man that they're bickering over. And the real star here, though, are the incredible special effects. Just insane what they're able to do. A lot of shots where you're like, I don't really know how they pulled this off with the technology of the time, but somehow they did, and it looks great. Yeah, if you haven't seen this one, this is very much worth watching.
I have not seen it.
My number 5, I put on uh, The Muppet Christmas Carol. My history with this film, I remember seeing like the first maybe 20-ish minutes at like a Sunday school, those probably evening. Um, I distinctly remember, actually, oh, where it stopped was like the splits between Ebenezer and his um, wife.
Girl,
That
girl, or
song,
fiance.
girl.
Yeah.
Fiance?
Girl.
Okay. The way I don't remember the story, or at least how it's told here. Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
the
this is a
last thing.
relatively faithful adaptation.
Okay,
Down
gotcha.
to getting it correct that
Relatively.
well, I mean, most adaptations don't get it correct that Bob Cratchit is a frog. So extra points for this one.
Amen. Yeah, so that's the last I remember. I definitely distinctly remember um, the fireplace scene with, um, I guess the ghosts are haunting him in the fireplace. And then finally, a couple years ago, I watched it in its totality. I don't think there was the song that was later added to Disney Plus. I don't think I saw that version because I think that was after I saw it. But anyways, I also didn't necessarily like grow up with like the Muppets, so I'm not necessarily um like there's a whimsy with the Muppets that I am not the most familiar with, but it's kind of cute and adorable. But I guess like for some, maybe it's nostalgia or they get it. I'm not fully there, but it's kind of cool. It's kind of fun. Yeah, they do a fun job. It's kind of interesting of like playing. You know, it's serious, but it's Muppets, kind of playing both games. So yeah, not necessarily one who's ultra familiar with it, not one who's ultra nostalgic about it, even though I saw half of it or part of it, as a kid. Um, but yeah, it's a Muppet time.
It's a Muppet time.
Yeah, yeah. I don't necessarily mean to be negative. I think the only other Muppets movie I saw was the Treasure Island, Treasure Cove Pirate.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
don't
Yeah.
remember the name of it. Um, but yeah, I don't think I'm necessarily like I love the Muppets, but like they're fun.
For me as a kid, this was like my go-to Christmas Carol. This and the Mickey Mouse cartoon. Um, so this is how I knew the Christmas Carol story through Kermit and the other characters. It's got some fun music. I like puppetry in general, so it's just fun to watch the Jim Henson puppetry at work. And it's great for that. We got Michael Caine as Scrooge. So that's fun. It's got some fun songs. If you enjoy Muppets, then it's a fun Muppet time. Yeah.
Yeah, this is A Christmas Carol is one of my favorite stories. It's my dad's like favorite story of all time. So we every year we try and find a different version of A Christmas Carol to watch. So one year we did this. I had seen it I think once before. It's not one of my favorite adaptations, but it's not bad. Has some of the stuff that doesn't always get adapted again. Most adaptations don't accurately depict Bob Cratchit as a frog, so has that going for it. Yeah, I think my favorite version, just to um, maybe this is recency bias, but I saw the Jefferson Mays, the actor, did a like one man stage show version and filmed it, and that version is just very very cool. Um, but yeah, I did also want to briefly mention that this is another directorial debut. This is the
Oh,
directorial debut of Brian Henson, son of Jim Henson. I did
Mm.
not put him on the list because outside of this and Muppet Treasure Island, his only other directorial credit is the Happy Time Murders, which is not a good movie.
uh, moving on to my number five. I'm continuing with the Heisei Godzilla era with Godzilla versus Mothra. I can't tell you what really happens in this one. I don't recall the specifics because it's yeah. But it's
Does Godzilla fight Mothra? I'd assume that's what it's about.
I yeah, I'm kinda. He does at
Okay,
one point.
okay.
It's really mostly a Mothra film where Mothra
Oh,
is like fighting like an evil twin.
oh,
Um,
that's
this
fun.
is yeah, this is like the introduction to Mothra in the Heisei era, so that's pretty cool. For me, what I liked most about this was just seeing all the familiar elements from the Showa era being redone here and being like, oh, that's pretty cool to see the updated version. Um, of course, Heisei Godzilla action, pretty cool, peak stuff. I don't remember specifics, but It was yeah, it was enjoyable enough. Yeah.
Yeah, I like Mothra. I need to watch more Mothra. This is obviously what I'll get around to at some point.
Mhm. And I need to watch the Mothra trilogy of this time, so that should
Uh-huh.
be fun. Yeah.
Well, yeah, my number 4 is speaking of directorial debuts, one that I just mentioned, Baz Luhrmann's Strictly Ballroom. This is actually based on a stage play that he made when he was a university student. Um, but it follows a competitive dancer who feels constrained by the expectations put on him, and he secretly begins training with a less experienced dancer, the two of them discovering a new passion for dance and falling in love. Um, it's not the most innovative plot. It's sort of this forbidden love type plot along with this competition plot, but it is just very, very well executed. Lots of big emotions, few fun twists near the end. And I'm just a sucker for any movie that builds towards a big performance. And it's such a good story structure. It's like the characters are building towards something, and then they get to like this big end goal that gets to be this exciting set piece. And here we have a cast of actual dancers doing this big dance performance. Um, and even this early in his career, Lerman is using editing and movement in a really, really interesting way that heightens the emotions. You know, 30 minutes into this movie, I wasn't really feeling it. When we got to the last 30 minutes, I was fully on board for everything and just swept up in the emotions in a way that I don't think I have been with any other Baz Luhrmann film. So I had a great time with this. The costumes, the outfits they're wearing to the dance are just like, oh, it's very, very sparkly, very fun. If you enjoy dance, this is a good movie for that. Or if you enjoy Baz Luhrmann and that sort of the heightened emotions, this is much less tragic than his films tend to be, but has that sort of heightened melodrama to it.
I haven't seen it.
Yep, neither have I. All right, my number 4 movie is called The Moon Warriors, which I watched yesterday. I will admit I was kind of tired when I watched it, um, but yeah, like if it's fun to see. Sorry, I'm blanking for a moment. So yeah, I was tired watching it, and it was funny. I was like eating popcorn, and then once the popcorn was gone, it was like, um, I haven't been the best about my sleep schedule this week, but yeah, it's a movie from Hong Kong, and it's fun to see people just like jumping around, flying while fighting. It's entertaining. I haven't seen a lot of movies, with those elements, and I don't know. I get a kick out of it. Just random moments where I just laugh because like that jump is so unrealistic, but that's just part of style and it's just part of fun. It's pretty amazing. Um, I picked this film because I was like looking at movies that that were on services that I have access to that released in '92, and this one ended up being the shortest one because I was like, oh, I gotta get to work soonish. Um, I started, and then it ends up being like an English dub, and I'm like, no,
Mm.
no, why? But then I was like, I don't have time to really pick a different one right now. I'll just go with it. Plus, it kind of adds to like the camp of the film, honestly. So it was kind of fun with this kind of like. I mean, I do wonder how serious the original dialogue is. I mean, like it's not like trashy campy, but it's of its style campy kind of thing. And so, but kind of having this like English dub that doesn't feel super serious kind of added to like the fun of it, honestly. So, yeah, I think it was a more serious leaning film. They already say like, if I ever popped on a Kurosawa film and it turned out to be English dub, I'm turning that thing off because I'm gonna take that film seriously. You know what I mean? Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, I had fun while watching this for sure. It's I think it's less than 90 minutes, so it's a short little
Oh,
time.
that's not
But
bad.
yeah, I don't have a lot of thoughts, but It was fun. I had fun.
John, how do you feel about wuxia, this
Who?
action style? Wuxia,
Oh,
the action.
I don't know if I've seen many examples. I mean, I've seen action clips, of course. I do really
Uh-huh.
enjoy the Hong Kong action, especially the Jackie Chan, Bruce Lee era, where it's them doing their crazy stunts. But specifically, like the crazy wire
Wuxia.
work,
Yeah.
yeah, work stunts. Like those are really fun. Um, I should watch more films with that. So maybe I'll
Yeah.
see this one
Yeah.
day.
I think
It's
one
oh, go ahead.
there's one standout moment in this where I think there were soldiers with like shields, and one of our heroes like jumps and just like walks on the shields. It's pretty incredible.
That's the least ridiculous thing I've heard. Yeah, no.
Okay, well, obviously I haven't seen a lot, but that was a standout moment.
Yeah, it's
I
a genre I need to get into more. I sometimes find them a little bit like there's a bit of cultural context that I feel I'm missing with them sometimes.
Hmm.
But it is like it can I like the heightenedness of it, and it can actually be very like beautiful and balletic. I'm thinking of like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon has some like very gorgeous action set pieces in a way that like the typical American Hollywood action movie isn't choreographed in that same way.
Hmm.
So yeah, that definitely hearing it's a Wuxia film makes me more interested in seeing it.
Hmm. Yeah, I saw it on Prime, so that's
Okay,
where it is presently, with an
I
English
looked it
dub.
up and it is on YouTube, but the YouTube version
Oh,
is also the English dub. So
I wonder if we'll ever find the original dub. But again, it adds to the fun.
uh
Honestly, I would like to see the original dub one day, but English dub's kind of a silly little time. So.
yeah, yeah.
For my number 4, I have a Disney Renaissance classic, Aladdin. Um, it's got the fun characters, the music. Robin Williams is Genie. A lot of iconic visuals. You got Iago as the as the bird. Jafar the villain. Um, many
We regret to
elements.
inform you that it is Jafar.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, sure. The depiction of the location and the culture is not the best. I'm especially that baguette. That baguette's not accurate to that locale and period. Also, like the main theming of the story and characters is like, well, that's a very Western take for something that's not what they would have done at the time. But those aside, just another fun Renaissance film. Yeah, I'll leave it there.
Yeah, the final film that Howard Ashman contributed to, he had passed away before even Beauty and the Beast had come out, but he had written the beginnings of certain songs for here. I forget which songs are his, but yeah, sort of this era of the Disney Renaissance that was defined by his music and his lyrics. The end of that. I have not seen Aladdin in many years. I need to get around to rewatching it at some point. But I remember really liking it as a kid. So,
Hmm. Hmm.
oh yeah, my number 3. I forgot to mention this before I started my list. When I was putting my list together, I was realizing a lot of my films are like very campy for this year. Um, Perhaps the campiest of them all is Peter Jackson's Brain Dead. This is written by Peter Jackson, directed by Peter Jackson, written by him, Steven Sinclair, and Fran Walsh. And it's this low budget but very very ambitious zombie film. It comes from the same lineage as like Sam Raimi's Evil Dead 2. It's this horror comedy that is like a horror version of a classic Looney Tunes cartoon. It has that cartoon logic, but applied to like, what if we filled it with zombies and gore, and it's demented in a really really fun way. Like there's a set piece involving a lawnmower. I don't even know how they made it without like finding a bunch of zombies and putting them through a lawnmower. It is crazy and it escalates so much, and the last 30 minutes of this are insane. I don't know how they did any of this. It is wild. they truly hold nothing. And this was like a relatively low budget film. This was, New Zealand, so the perhaps it was a little bit cheaper to do certain things there than it would have been in Hollywood. But yeah, this is the kind of movie that I really want to see in a crowded theater, because it goes wild, but like so much fun. Again, that Looney Tunes logic, the comedy of it, the insanity of it. This is exactly the type of thing that the theatrical experience was made for. And if I ever get the chance, I will be taking all my friends. Well, maybe not all of my friends, but some of my friends, and the ones who will appreciate it a little bit more. Because yeah, it is like very. There were times where I was like, "Oh, I feel like I might throw up,"
Oh,
but
dang.
in like a fun way.
Throw up in a fun way. Yeah, yeah. I know what that is. Yeah.
In a way of like, it wasn't distressing. It was just like, oh, this is
Mhm.
very gross.
So initially, I think you had this at your number 5, and so I was like going through like some of the movies you were mentioning earlier and looking them like on Letterboxd with you were talking about
Yeah.
like Best Picture and stuff. And then so you're talking about your number 5. I didn't catch the title. I heard Meryl Streep, and I looked down and I see Brain Dead. Like I didn't know Meryl Streep was in Brain Dead.
She is not. No, this is very much, this is a New
Yeah.
Zealand film, and it is, I don't think the actors have been in much else outside of New Zealand films. But yeah, no, I did make that last minute switch. I think I like both of them for very similar reasons. Brain Dead I bumped up a little bit just because as I was thinking about it, it's like, oh yeah, it's just so much fun.
Mhm.
And also
I
like you can see the early like what would become Lord of the Rings. You're seeing
mm,
that filmmaking, but in a very different genre.
mm,
I mean, somewhat different. Lord of the Rings has some more horror elements in it than you might think, given that it's like a
mhm.
big epic fantasy.
Yeah. I'm probably more likely to watch Death Becomes Her than Brain Dead.
This this
But
one this one is worth watch. This one is, again, if you can see it at a theater.
uh-huh. I I'm never gonna say no. I'm just sometimes like crazy horror, not my first go to, but like
This isn't
crowded
like,
theater might be
yeah,
fun.
yeah.
Might be fun.
And this is like, it is not distressing.
Okay.
It
Okay.
is
It's
just
it's
like,
just crazy.
yeah, yeah. It is,
Okay.
this is very much a horror comedy. Um, it's not scary.
Ooh, okay.
It's just like
I'm sorry.
how,
When you throw in comedy, you kind of got me.
okay.
You
Alright.
know, can't
Just for
lie.
like a very brief thing, because I'm watching the lawnmower scene right now. At one point the lawnmower turns off and he has to like try and turn it on. Oh, he can't reach the thing. So he reaches over and grabs a zombie's severed arm and like uses that to pull the cord on the lawnmower. It's that kind of like just insanity. I was
Uh-huh.
trying to find like things to put for the images, and the images that I chose are like the only ones that I found that were not like completely blood all over the place. And there's all right blood all over the place in one of them. Those are like the most age appropriate
Yeah,
images I could
yeah.
find.
Mhm.
Yeah, just it's
You,
so much
you
fun. It is worth watching. Horror comedy again. It's great.
feel like maybe a more age appropriate scene from the movie you could pick was maybe from like the end credits. Just like 3 screenshots from
Yep.
the end credits. I don't think there'd be any blood there.
There is like, I mean, the first hour of this is it's really only, but I mean everyone is, the last 30 minutes are what really makes this special. So
I'd actually be curious, John, is this something you're interested in because he is a director of Lord of the Rings?
No.
Copy. My number 3 is General Sun 3. So I did not talk about General Sun 2 because I was not present in the last episode. Um, General Sun 2 kind of feels a little more the same of the first one. Um, there, so ultimately, like with the a young boy kind of becomes like a gang leader, and so 2 we kind of just see more of those things. The third one leans a little more into like character things, because I think the first 2, and there's still of it in the third one, but kind of like a certain gang's like, oh, we must take him down, and also kind of but there's a little trope that happens with our character that happens a little later in the first film, so that's why I'm not saying it. But then keeps happening in all three films, and it's honestly I find it amusing. Honestly, I don't know if anyone knows what I'm talking about, but yeah, this third one kind of goes a little deeper into like the character, kind of showing him like, yeah, he's strong and powerful as a gang leader kind of thing, but he's not really all there as an emotional human adult. Specifically, as like there's a woman he wants, and he's not always the greatest about like he's a womanizer, but not always in control of his emotions. This isn't necessarily a super deep film or anything, but I think it's interesting, this being the third entry of this trilogy, kind of exploring more of those like human elements that weren't as present in the first two. So yeah, I'm not declaring this as any masterpiece, but again, you always kind of got me a little bit with some like human exploration, especially after like some time of not really seeing that. I think we kind of saw that. Not a great comparison, but like I mentioned, the last picture show in Texasville, kind of like Texasville being some years later, and seeing those characters at a different time. So I almost feel like kind of seeing some time later and exploring how the character may be, whether different or not so different, but sometime later. I think it's interesting to me. So I would declare this one as my favorite of the three movies, because of those elements. And then it being the last of the trilogy, we finally kind of get a resolution with like the main evil boss that we've been kind of seeing. Yeah, so I think it's interesting. I don't necessarily know if I'm gonna be telling people like go out of your way to watch the General Sun trilogy. I mean, I did. I got the Blu-ray box set because I was just curious. Oh, that was another thing. Like I mentioned, the first movie had like a cliffhanger, and it didn't pick up right from that moment with the second film. And I think I'm just a little faceblind. I don't remember what character he talked to and how that character factored into the second one. But then also the second one ended on a freaking cliffhanger. And then so the third one we pick up seeing like what happened after it. But I remember ending the second movie like, are you kidding me? Another cliffhanger. And yeah. So I thought that was kind of funny. So the third one doesn't end on the cliffhanger.
That's good.
Yeah, it's nice. So that was the end. But yeah, so you can watch the first General Sun film on the Korean Film Council's channel, YouTube channel. And then I got the Blu-ray set to watch the other two. So
Okay.
if they pique your interest, awesome. There's a lot of people punching people kind of stuff. If you enjoy those movies, awesome, I guess. Not necessarily my ultimate go-to, but I'm curious about Korean cinema, me being half Korean, and I think what was significant about the first one is that I think the Korean industry was struggling, so kind of the first General Sun movie kind of being a bit of a blockbuster, and kind of being another point of like revival for Korean cinema, at least commercially. So yeah, it's kind of interesting to see a piece of Korean history in that way, even if they're not necessarily for me.
Yeah, I mean, hearing you talk about these and the significance to Korean cinema does definitely make me interested in checking them out at some point.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder if the second and third movies are even available anywhere on the internet. Like if you can find them like Internet Archive or something. I don't know. That'd be pretty amazing to me.
Yeah,
Because like, not that they're the ultimate metric, but I think the first movie was logged maybe about like 500 times on Letterboxd, and then the
okay.
2 and 3 maybe about like 100.
Oh
So
wow. So they're
at
not
least for the
uh
letterbox community, barely anyone's seen them.
yeah.
For my number three, I have Home Alone 2 Lost in New York, which is, of course, the sequel to Home Alone. Yeah, I grew up with this one as well as the first one, and I enjoyed the double feature of Kevin beating the crap out of these guys with the different tricks. I think maybe the traps in this one were some of my favorites. There's the one scene with Marv where he turns into a skeleton that was like so ridiculous, but I loved it. You got Tim Curry um, being iconic as always. You got the bird lady, that's pretty sweet. There's that one scene with the host of The Apprentice there. You know that was something. Uh, yeah,
Probably the
no,
scene from that movie that has like most endured in that way of like 20 years ago people would not have remembered that that scene was in this movie. Now that's like I see that scene referenced all the time
yeah,
for obvious reasons, but
yeah. Yeah, no, it's a fun time. It's fun seeing New York and seeing the different locales that Kevin goes to, spends all that money. Oh, the Toy Story. Ah, man, I wanted to go to that toy store, because it looks so cool and
is that
grand.
the big one? The one in New York, the like famous one? FAO
Yeah, the famous
Schwartz?
one that no longer exists anymore. I don't think it was Schwartz. I
Aw.
think it was another one,
Okay.
something like that. Yeah, but when I went to New York, I was like, I want to go. They're like, no, it's not there anymore. It's like, darn it. Um, but yeah, no, it's more fun Home Alone times. Yep.
Mhm.
FAO Schwartz is the one from the end of Eyes Wide Shut. I don't know if that's the same one. That's just the one that I know
Mm,
of.
okay. I think Big was it in Big? I don't know. Maybe I don't know.
I haven't seen Big, and also I don't recognize my toy stores that well. Um, I just looked up FAO Shorts to double check something, but yeah,
Hmm.
I don't know if that's but that's the like if that's the famous New York toy store. Yeah, I've seen this once many years ago. I don't have any strong recollections of it, so I don't really have anything to add, unfortunately.
Mhm. Um, I feel like I enjoyed this one more than the first because I think with the first film, I didn't expect like most of the movie to not be house traps, I guess, because the fame of Home Alone were like, oh, crazy things at the house, and that's just the end of it, kind of. So going into this one, kind of knowing what the feel of the movie would be like, I think I was more accepting of that. And I do think I had more fun with the traps in this film than I did the first one. Nothing against the first one, but I don't know. Just the I think it gets so crazy and absurd in this one compared to the first. I just enjoyed that heightened absurdity, I guess.
Kevin straight
So
up throws bricks down at them from the building, and they're like on a public street, so it's like that's not legal.
yeah, it's just so nutty. So I
Mhm.
think I just enjoyed the journey in this one a little more and the absurdity more. Just I'm a sucker for comedy. Let's be real. Let's be honest. So yeah, I enjoyed this one.
Oh yeah. My number two is A Few Good Men. This is directed by Rob Reiner. Recently passed away very tragically, based on the play by Alan Sorkin, and it's about two Marines who are put on trial after killing a fellow soldier during a hazing ritual, and their defense team starts to uncover this bigger conspiracy. I won't get too far into what that looks like and what's going on because I think one of the fun things about this film is the investigation and sort of uncovering everything that's happening. I often dread watching this kind of canonical classic type films just there's like so much of a weight of expectations, and I tend to already have somewhat contrarian tastes. Um, and so there's just nothing worse than watching a film that a lot of people love and walking away without a strong reaction. And that was fully my expectation going into this film, but it won me over so quickly. There's this really interesting central character dynamic. Tom Cruise plays the protagonist here. He's this arrogant lawyer who is trying to live his life putting in as little effort as possible. And then Demi Moore plays um, someone, she's the one who sort of thinks that this case is more, there's more going on here, and keeps pushing everyone around her to take both this case and to take her opinion seriously. um, and it sets up this really good dynamic between the two of them, and this good arc for Tom Cruise's character of like having to learn to, it's almost a coming of age type story for him. And then on top of that, this is like a really good legal drama. We're seeing them do this investigation, try and uncover the truth, seeing their sort of strategies as they're trying to approach this case, seeing them deal with all of the setbacks that happen. Just lots of really, really good stuff here. Jack Nicholson, of course, comes in with a very memorable supporting performance. I think it's like he is so good and so memorable that it kind of undercuts what the film is trying to say. um because he is the villain, but that's who people remember in that you know Heath Ledger in the Dark Knight way of like, oh yeah, people remember this villain performance better than the hero performances, and so kind of takes over the actual themes of the film. um but yeah, no, this just works so well for me. It is entertaining, it is exciting, it is interesting. There's a lot of interesting questions that it is asking about the US military. um my biggest complaint is there is like a half-hearted romance subplot that is both very unnecessary and undercuts a couple of the characters here. But besides that, I just really enjoyed this, and just the experience of watching a film that I have heard talked about, and I've even seen clips of this, brought up as like, oh, look at these performances, look at how good this film is. And sitting down to watch it and actually enjoying it. I don't always have that experience, so I had a joy watching this.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. I'm very, of course, familiar with the classic line. I mean, that's pretty much
Yep.
it. Yeah.
You can't handle the truth. I mean, that's this movie. That is the thing that everyone knows about this movie.
Hmm.
Called Our Twisted Hero, um, which has, he comes very late in the film, but early appearance from Chae Min-sik, who is uh,
The
the
titular
main
character in
character
Old
of
Boy.
Old Boy.
He is the old
I,
boy.
yeah, I almost said protagonist, which is a word. Um, I don't know what to say for. I mean, whatever. We're not talking about Old Boy. Anyways, but yeah, he comes in actually pretty late into this film, so there was part of me that was like, is he actually in this film? It was almost, if you've seen Park Chan-wook's, what's the first movie, Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, and you
Yeah.
see Song Kang-ho in the credits, like, oh, okay, when is he actually in this film? And he appears, but like Song Kang-ho appears like 30 minutes into this film. Chae Min-sik appears like an hour and 30 minutes into this film. So much longer wait for being like third build or something. But his character is very memorable. Love it so much. Anyways, but this film, we see a boy who moves to a different neighborhood. He goes to a school where there's a class leader who basically, the film is basically like an allegory of dictatorship.
Mm.
And so he kind of runs the class, and the teachers kind of are just like, oh yeah, he's a good student and he does his things, whether they are or aren't necessarily aware. They're kind of mostly unaware. Um, but yeah, all like the other students are kind of like just doing his dirty work and not speaking up about it. And this new kid is like, well, isn't all this like bad? And no one's willing to, you know, do anything about it. And it's a whole journey. I won't continue talking about the rest of the story. Um, but yeah, it's if it all happens mostly at the school. If it's not necessarily a super slow burn, um, but yeah, if it can, I think like you definitely see like how upset and oppressed this kid feels, and so like it feels heavy in that way, you know. Um, and then also if you pick up on like the idea of the dictatorship thing, like that can definitely add to um, the experience and allegory of the story. So I think it's a very good, fascinating, interesting watch, and I think will probably uh, be quite interesting to revisit in the future.
Yeah, that does
Also,
sound. Oh,
I
go ahead.
apologize. This film is also available on the Korea Films Council's YouTube channel. That's how I watched it. So if this
Okay.
does intrigue you, it is accessible.
Yeah, I've been interested in learning about authoritarian regimes and authoritarianism for no reason at all. Nothing that might be related to Home Alone 2. So that definitely does interest me in watching this. And I imagine with Korea's history, I don't know a ton about it, but I know they had military dictatorships in the past. So I can imagine how that would be sort of speaking to the history there a little bit.
Well, going on to my number two, I have a Studio Ghibli film, Porco Rosso. Yes, really fun film with Porco and the Seaplane Society just flying around, doing stuff, avoiding the Italian government.
Speaking of authoritarianism,
Yeah. Uh, Uh, yeah, yeah. I mean, it looks great. I love the flying shots. I love the way they do the action. The animation's great. Porco, our protagonist, is a pig. That's that's just
hey,
a
better a
normal
pig than a
thing.
fascist.
Yeah, better a pig than a fascist. Yeah, that's just a normal thing that they throw upon you. Uh, it's enjoyable. It's chill. It's pretty great. I don't know what else to say.
Okay, what obviously you're making a kids animated movie. Who else do you have as the protagonist but a chain smoking middle-aged pig man who's like reminiscing about the past and
Mhm.
pining after his crush? Yeah, just insane that this is a kids movie, but also it is so, as you're saying, it's fun, it's beautiful. The scene of like I don't even remember what it's called, but the all of the planes like flying in the sky as like the representation
Yeah.
of everyone. That's just it's such a beautiful emotional moment. Um
Hmm.
I
Great
need to
idea
rewatch
too.
this one. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is one that just for me is like I saw it the first time and I was like, oh, this is pretty good. And then I saw it the second time and I was like, is this the most profound movie ever made? And that's every Ghibli film I feel that way about. Um
Yeah.
and
I
this is the one that's like about a pig who, again, chain smoking, drinks too much for kids.
mhm.
Oh,
And you also got
I
that
love it so
rich
much.
American guy who wants to make a name for himself and get a girl and be successful at everything.
Yup. Yeah,
I
it's so well
remember
made.
growing up and just watching the commercials for this one, like on Disney DVDs. They used to have the
Yeah.
trailers before, and it's like, buy Porco Rosso on VHS and 2D now, and I'm like, what's this weird film about a pig? Okay, that's something. Just stuck in my mind, never thought about it, and then we watched Porco Rosso, and it's like, yes, Porco Rosso. I remember that weird thing.
uh, yeah, this is one that is definitely worth watching if you are a Ghibli fan. This
Mhm.
is maybe even more accessible than some of the other Miyazaki films. It's a little bit more conventionally structured.
Yeah, very much so.
And also just I mean, you already said it, but the gorgeous animation, just the Italian vistas and the gorgeous islands, Mediterranean. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
And, like, the biplane action, just flying and fighting is, like, all
yeah. I mean, Miyazaki is like obsessed with planes, and this is one of
Mhm.
his most plane forward films.
Outside of the other ones, yeah.
Yes. It's this and Wind Rises that are really getting into, but I mean all of his films have planes.
Yeah.
Except for
How
Mononoke.
was a plane for one time? Well, why don't we get into some honorable mentions?
Yeah. As always, mine are in alphabetical order, so that means up first is Army of Darkness. Speaking of Sam Raimi, this didn't stick with me as much as the other Raimi Evil Dead films, but it is still a ton of fun new setting. Um, Basic Instinct. This is a fun, twisty, erotic thriller. Really great musical score. Candyman, horror film with a lot of thematic depth to it. Another really good score. That one's Philip Glass. So just incredible to
Oh,
hear him do like a horror movie score. Um, Kronos, I owe this one a rewatch. I could see this jump into my top 5 on a rewatch, knowing how much I love Guillermo del Toro's other films. The Crying Game, I went in knowing very little besides the big twist, which I won't spoil here, and I was worried about how the film would handle it and how that would have aged. I ended up being really impressed though by the empathy both in that and how it approaches most of the characters here. I think it has aged better than the marketing and the hoopla about the twist has. Um, then I have Doing Time on Maple Drive. This is very much a TV movie in both production quality and sort of its very big melodramatic approach, but I still found it to be like a very relatable story. Though the ending is a bit truncated. I have my issues with how it ends, but overall, just very relatable, very interesting story. El Mariachi, previously mentioned, directorial debut of Robert Rodriguez, just this really fun, campy action western that is so impressive when you hear about how little money they had to make it. Like they basically could only do one take per shot, and it works. It really works. And then last up, I have The Tune. This is Bill Plimpton's directorial feature debut. It's a very weird but very fun animated film. The plot is stretched very, very thin, and lots of the sequences feel more like individual shorts than like scenes in a bigger movie. And some of them are actually like shorts that he had made previously that then he worked into the film. But it's really creative and crazy and has some like fun music. It's a full on musical. And the musical sequences, the animation, it's really cool.
I have not seen any of these films.
Will you ever do
And
Evil Dead? I feel like that might be a series you might eventually get around to.
I doubt I will.
I feel like Army of Darkness is the one that you would enjoy of those.
That's the one that I've heard is the most manageable, I've heard, yeah. And Christopher, you are foregoing honorable mention at this time.
yeah. My honorable mentions are the friends we've made along. No.
Yeah. Well, on to my honorable mentions. First up, we have Beethoven, about the big dog. That's how I know. That's every time I think of Beethoven, I think about the dog instead of the musician. um,
Good old Beethoven.
yes, watched this a lot as a kid. Have not seen it in aeons. I want to, but there's a lot of films in the series, and I kind of want to watch them all together, but they're never streaming at the same time. So it's like I should get. I like they do have a DVD set case, but
Okay.
like it's never. Every time I go to the store, when I'm like I should get it this time if I see it, it's never there. But like
Oh,
when it's there, I'm like I don't have the funds. So it's always a fun time when that happens. Speaking of dogs, we have Reservoir Dogs from Tarantino. It's his film. Yeah, it's yeah, it's all right. Yeah, I think it would be an interesting stage play, and I think there might be an adaptation of a stage play. Um, yeah. Then we have My Cousin Vinny, which is the courtroom comedy with Joe Pesci and the MCU at May. I can't recall her name.
Tomei.
Marissa Tomei.
Yes, Marissa Tomei. Really fun stuff. Yep. Then we got the Newsies, which was one of the first like big musicals that I knew about. I had to sing a song in middle school in choir, which it was fun. Um, Then there's A League of Their Own, the baseball film about a girls' league during World War II. This I have a conspiracy theory where I think this is the role that got Tom Hanks into Toy Story, because like
Okay.
Woody is pretty much this guy from his character in this film, kind of. Yeah. Then there's Chaplin, the Robert Downing Jr. film about Charlie Chaplin. It's been a while since I've seen it, but I thought it was decent. Then we have a stage production, Rowan Atkinson Live, where he does a bunch of very comedic skits. They're really funny. Classic Rowan Atkinson. And lastly, we have Patriot Games, the second Jack Ryan film, but the first one with Harrison Ford. I think it is. Yeah, it is that. That's what I gotta say.
Yeah, but he's the only one I've seen is Reservoir Dogs. I've only seen it once. I should rewatch it at some point. Because yeah, it is sort of Tarantino at his most stripped down, so it is very much the dialogue that is and the performances that are taking center stage.
Well, why don't we talk about our number ones?
Yeah. So my number one is a little movie called Batman Returns, directed by Tim Burton, written by Daniel Waters. Um, Most depictions of Batman can be mapped on a sliding scale. This is my big Batman take. On one end, we have serious and brooding Batmans. That's, the Christopher Nolan films. I think like Batman the Animated Series tends to be more serious Batman. And on the other hand, we have weirdo Batman. And this movie is pure weirdo Batman. And I like weirdo Batman. That's my favorite Batman. Nothing against brooding and serious Batman, but yeah, this is obviously a sequel to Tim Burton's first Batman film, which I've only seen once. But this one is, I mean, known for being darker and weirder and hornier. Controversial at the time, but I think it works in the movie's favor. It is, again, weirdo Batman. So much fun. Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman, Danny DeVito as Penguin, two incredible villain performances. This is basically their movie. They're the ones with the arcs. They're the ones who kind of take center stage here. I think Catwoman's story in particular, the way they handle it, it's so well developed and interesting. And yeah, and it's a Tim Burton, the production design is there, the costumes are great. Yeah, this is one of those that I don't rewatch it every Christmas, but it is one of those that's on my list of like Christmas movies that I need to get around to when I can. I've rewatched it a few Christmases, but need to
Mhm.
watch it again.
Yeah. I remember growing up and playing the Lego Batman video game.
Yes.
And during the penguin levels where you're trying to stop an army of penguins from gunning down the citizens, um, basically that game kind of like retold elements of the Burton films. And I didn't know that. That was my introduction to the Burton film aesthetic and like the Burton music, the Danny Elfman music. So I remember listening to the music of those games and I'm like, oh, that's great. And then finally, when I realized that these films existed and watched them, it's like, oh, it's the music. Oh, it's pretty cool. It's like, oh, the Penguin Army. I remember that from the thing. And it's like, oh, it's all fun. Yeah. Great stuff.
Yeah, I this film feels quite different from the first Batman film. So maybe I went into just like how like Home Alone and after Home Alone, I was better set up for the second one because of kind of a similar kind of progression. I was not well equipped for how different this movie felt. At least there was felt like more of a time distance between watching the two Batman films. So maybe also memory clouded it. Maybe they're more similar than I realized, and I genuinely don't realize it. Um, so I don't think the movie uh, worked for me as well, but I definitely am curious to revisit it. Definitely though, like I definitely remember DeVito's Penguin being memorable, and his army penguins are incredibly memorable. I love that so much. I got such a kick out of that. Yeah, so I think it demands a revisit from me at some point. But I recall it being enjoyable, but definitely a very different feeling kind of movie. They're both like brooding, and the atmosphere is dark. Like I feel like whenever I think about the city, it's always nighttime. It feels more black than blue. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I definitely remember really enjoying the first Batman. This one just probably need to give it another shot. So I put Home Alone 2 as my number one. Again, I think with it just being a comedy, I'm a sucker for comedies. Like obviously, uh, yeah, this little guy right here likes to laugh. This little guy likes a little bit of absurdity. So yeah, I think with the films from '92, I obviously haven't seen a lot, and maybe eventually, maybe there'd be some shifting. I'd be again. I think with our Twisted Hero, I think that one needs a little more marinating and understanding on my end. I could, if that one really connected with me, I could see that one being a number one, but presently that's not the case. And I again haven't seen a lot of others, but I'm not necessarily like upset. Like Home Alone 2 is a silly little time. I like silly little times. Right now, my favorite films of 2026 are silly little times. Like I think my top three presently are all comedies. So, um, yeah. Sorry, I like to laugh.
I remember being really super jealous of Kevin for like living the life. Like he's living in this grand hotel, gets like the best room service, like all that ice cream, hand scooped ice cream, all like the treats and cookies. He gets like a whole pizza, goes in the limousine, gets a whole pizza. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I want that. um, but yeah, no, yeah, no. It's again, it's fun. It's Home Alone 2. It's in New York. Well, moving on to my number one, we've talked about it before. It's Batman Returns. I love the Tim Burton Batman films. They have obviously a great aesthetic. Um, again, I prefer the first one, but this one also really great. Also great iconic stuff. Um, I watched the Burton films. I watched all the Batman films in black and white, and the Burton films were the best looking black and white films I've seen from all the stuff that I watched. They are so gorgeous. The city, the smoke, the aesthetic, the lighting, the way Burton did the lighting for the bat suit, just like mwah, chef's kiss, even without black and white. But in black and white, it's incredible. Even with this, you had the snow. It's gorgeous. If I recommend any films in black and white, it's the Burton Batman films.
Hmm.
They're phenomenal. They look great. They're made for black and white, honestly. Um
Wow.
yeah, again, iconic costumes, iconic villains. Uh Danny DeVito, this was my introduction to Danny DeVito. Um funny, very mature penguin in this one. Um there was a lot of dialogue that I did not catch as a kid from him, but yeah, that's something. Um, Catwoman, she's Catwoman. Um, Batman continues his killing spree, not as much as I think in this the first film, but yeah, still the Burton Batman. Um, yeah, no, still great fun times.
Well, I guess that it's time for our
Oh,
worst here. Oh,
one little
go ahead.
question. Would you consider watching other Burton films in black and white? To curious if like it stays that way, or do you think it's mostly the aesthetic of these films that specifically lean itself well for black and white?
Well, I haven't seen any other Burton films in black and white, but specifically the Batman films off the top of my head look the best in black and white. The
But like,
little
are you curious about other Burton films in black and white?
maybe I maybe not really. Like
Hmm.
I don't there's not a whole lot of Burton films that I watch that I'm fully aware of that I watch a whole lot. So I'd have to rewatch them before I even consider black and white.
Mm.
Um yeah.
What, you aren't rewatching Mrs. or Miss Peregrine's Home for whatever?
No.
Dark Shadows, the greatest
No.
film ever made.
I don't know. Oh, no. Definitely not.
Well, yeah. Then on to worst, I guess.
On to worst.
Yeah, mine is Scent of a Woman. Probably most famous for being the movie that Al Pacino won his Oscar for. Um, kind of known as one of those wins that people are like, really, this one? Um, my letterbox review of this is that this is 156 minutes of schmaltzy heterosexual nonsense. It's just the peak of this era of just very sentimental, very schmaltzy, Oscar nominated drama. It's 2.5 hours long. Just keeps going on and on and on. It doesn't end. It's uh yeah, this is one. A lot of people like this movie. Good for them. I don't see what they see in it. Um, if you like this movie, nothing against you. That's fine. I'm glad you enjoyed it. This is 2.5 hours that I will never get back.
And I have not seen it.
And neither have I. I'll say if I was to pick a worst film, I would lean towards Batman Returns, but again, it's not necessarily worse. It's just like kind of least favorite if I was to rank everything. So again, like I said, it demands a rewatch. I'm very open to changing my opinion because I don't necessarily have anything directly against it. There are other films I think are more worth spending time hating, and Batman Returns is not one of them.
Well, moving on to my least favorite film, I have Alien Cubed. And this is yeah, this is specifically the theatrical cut of the film, which is kind of borderline incoherent and unwatchable. There is an assembly cut that is watchable, if not decent, that does its themes better, that has a plot structure that makes sense. Characters do stuff that makes sense. There's characters to care for. The theatrical cut does not have that really. It cuts down everything. Scenes happen at weird points. Um, like the most egregious thing about this was the audio mixing. Like you cannot hear any line of dialogue. Like it is so quiet, like to a whisper. You have to turn your thing up to like a million in order to understand what's going on. It's indiscernible. Um, on top of that, it's just it takes a direction where the second one ends off in a way that's like one that a lot of people really love, and the direction this one takes kind of undermines that in a way that rubs people the wrong way, myself included. I don't love that direction. I think the aesthetic that they were going for is interesting. I I don't love the choices make. Plus this one had a nightmare production behind the scenes. So the fact that they made something almost decent, or in the base, the whatever other cut is semi, yeah, whatever. Yeah, Alien Cubed, not my favorite. It's got actors that I know in it. It's got a lot of bald white men that I can't really identify most of the time, but yeah, it's a film.
Yeah, this is one I have not seen the theatrical cut. I have seen the assembly cut, and I'm sort of mixed on it. I really like some of the stuff, and I've looked up what is the added stuff, and the stuff that I like is basically all of the stuff that was added in the assembly cut. Um, so yeah, I obviously, having not seen the theatrical cut, I can't really comment on it, but I'm not surprised that it doesn't work. Yeah, David
Yeah,
Fincher basically disowned this one, and it
Mhm.
is not well regarded. So
Even the visual effects for the theatrical were like really bad.
okay,
That they did fix for the assembly one
okay,
mostly. So yeah.
yeah, I also have only seen the assembly cut. Just hearing how egregious the theatrical cut is, I'm like, well, I might as well watch the assembly cut.
yeah,
And um, I guess in the first place, I don't necessarily have a lot of personal reverence for the Alien films. I find some element of enjoyment. I really enjoyed Romulus. I'm not over the moon about the first two Alien films. So I think due to how like cold I feel about the first two compared to how people like them, I again just feel kind of so opposite because I have a friend who calls Alien 3 and he probably if I'm to guess only seen the theatrical cut. Um like he calls Alien 3 like his least favorite film of all time. He loves the first two Alien films. So again, I have one friend who's very hot and cold about those films and I'm not. Um so I'm just like about the first two and then this one I'm kind of like it wasn't that bad. You're telling me this is the worst film, and again, I know it's the assembly cut, but still, I'm just like, I don't know. There are other films that make me more mad. Then again, he's more invested in it as a franchise kind of thing. I'm not. So I don't know. I thought it was interesting. Um, I don't know. Like each Alien film is just very different. This one continues on being very different. It has I thought it had interesting ideas. I'm definitely not one here to be an apologist for Alien 3. I'm not an apologist for the Alien franchise as a whole. But yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was interesting. I think I just go to Alien films as they are a concept, and I just kind of take what I think is interesting. So, Romulus I enjoyed the most, had the most fun with. But all of them is kind of like, okay, that's interesting. That's cool. That's interesting. Okay, okay. And so I kind of did my cherry picking with this one, and especially compared to everyone else, enjoyed myself.
Yeah, definitely. If you're like watching everything in close proximity to each other, it's like you can really tell the difference between all of them as the films went. Um, so probably not the best way to experience those films in that regard, but yeah, Alien Cubed.
Yeah,
The only
that's another thing. I haven't seen Aliens. Sorry, the first time and only time I saw it was over a year ago. So I think there's also distance for me in terms of like I feel like I get a little sense of why people don't necessarily love this being the next step in terms of decisions, but also I don't feel super phased about it myself.
they made a choice to do stuff off screen,
Yeah,
which
but I
is
guess
the egregious part of it, but also the choice itself is kind of interesting.
hmm I guess like I'm because also like there's just been enough like time distance between each film, I guess, in terms of release. And then also each film just feels so different. I just feel I don't know. I'm just very indifferent about but then again, I don't care about the franchise that much, so my opinion doesn't matter that much to a degree.
Yeah, Alien is one of my favorite franchises, just in how each one is like very much its own thing with its
hmm
own creative vision.
hmm
And Alien 3 is maybe one of the least engaging on that level. There's still
Interesting.
stuff there, especially in the assembly cut. There's still stuff
hmm
going on there, but yeah, compared to the other films in the series, it just, I mean, besides maybe Resurrection.
Well, that's what we have for the films of 1992. Um, these were films. Yeah. And join us next month for 93. Uh, and yeah, thank you guys for listening. We'll see you all next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.